a 34-year-old woman is killed in her own home during the night. The next morning, the forensic team arrives and gathers countless pieces of evidence. Decades pass, yet for 40 years, no one discovers who the murderer was. But then, a Coca-Cola can play a key role in solving this 40-year-old case in just 40 hours. To uncover this story, join me as we journey to Laredo, a state in the U.S., and trust me, this case will deeply engage the detective within you. Our story starts in 1981. Sylvia, a 34-year-old woman, was highly ambitious. Professionally, she was an architect. She had a passion for studying history, analyzing historical maps, and drawing inspiration from historic buildings to design new ones. Alongside this, she ran her own wedding cake business. Sylvia was an independent woman, and after achieving financial stability, she purchased her own house close to her parents where she lived alone. Yet every morning, she had coffee with her family. It was the morning of August 4th, 1981. At 8 a.m., just like every other day, Sylvia's father went to her house to have their usual morning coffee. As soon as he arrived, he sensed something unusual. The front door was ajar, and the back door was also open. Upon entering, he discovered Sylvia lying between the living room and bedroom, covered in blood. He ran to her side and saw blood flowing from her body. The disturbing part was that her body was completely unclothed. Her hands were tied with her own shirt, and a towel had been placed over her face. After removing the towel, he saw a gunshot wound on her head and multiple stab wounds on her chest. Seeing her in such a horrific state, he covered her body with the towel again and ran to call the ambulance and the police. Since it was 1981, mobile phones had only been around for about a decade, and most homes still relied on landlines. But when he got to the phone, he saw the cord had been cut. When the police arrived at Sylvia's home, her father explained that her body had been found naked and that he had covered it with the towel. The police removed the towel again to collect evidence without disrupting the crime scene. Sylvia's body was sent for an autopsy, and the forensic team began investigating her home. They found signs of an attempt to break a bedroom window, but it was too strong. In the bathroom, they found a large window shattered, leading straight into the bushes outside. They combed through the bushes and discovered broken glass about 6 feet from the window. Inside the house, they uncovered more clues. Although Sylvia's body was found between the living room and the bedroom, there was a considerable amount of blood on the bed. The sheets, pillowcases, and even the doormat were soaked in blood. Close to the bed, the police found a bloody knife. They collected the knife, Sylvia's blood-soaked bed sheets, pillowcases, and the orange towel that had covered her face. Since her body had been discovered unclothed, they also took swabs from her private parts and collected her shirt, which had been used to tie her hands. All of these items were sent to the forensics team for examination. While the evidence was being processed, the police questioned Sylvia's family. Her family stated that no one had visited Sylvia on August 4th, and Sylvia had spoken with her sister on the phone around 11 p.m. This indicated that she had been alive until that time. After the murder, the phone line had been cut, suggesting that the intruder entered after 11 p.m. Sylvia's autopsy revealed 2 causes of death. First, she had been stabbed 3 times in the chest, causing fatal damage to her heart and lungs, leading to significant blood loss. The second cause of death was a gunshot wound to her forehead. Swabs collected from her body confirmed she had been sexually assaulted. Semen samples were discovered on her body, on the bed sheets, and on the towel. Additionally, a deep red mark around her neck suggested an attempt to strangle her. The autopsy also revealed that Sylvia had put up a strong fight, as several of her fingernails were broken. Back in 1981, forensic science was not advanced enough to analyze the evidence in depth, causing delays in the investigation. By 1983, forensic science had improved slightly, allowing for the development of an alternative light source to examine DNA more closely. In that year, DNA was identified on Sylvia's body, towel, shirt, pillowcase, bed sheets, and the orange towel. However, the issue was that the quantity of DNA was too small for matching. Time went by, but forensic technology advanced, and in 2020, the FBI was finally able to process the DNA fully. They input the data into their system, to match it with known criminals, but no match was found. This suggested that the perpetrator may have committed their first and only crime. Meanwhile, a thief falsely confessed to the crime, hoping to gain free food and cigarettes in jail, but investigations proved he was lying. Every year, the FBI and CBI attempted to match the DNA in their databases, but by 2020, no match had been found. Then, in 2020, a company called United Data Collect, which stored DNA for medical research, stepped in. The FBI collaborated with them, and on May 26, 2020, Sylvia's DNA was matched with a family tree DNA. This breakthrough significantly simplified the investigation, as only a few family members were still alive. Gradually, the police ruled out most suspects, eventually narrowing down to one man who lived about 20 kilometers away from Sylvia's home in 1981. The police began monitoring the suspect. One day, when the man was throwing out his garbage, the police collected the trash and sent it to the forensic team. Among the items in the trash, the police found a Coca-Cola can with the man's DNA on it. That DNA was compared to the DNA from Sylvia's house, and it was a perfect match. The police arrested the man, David Danway, a 62-year-old who had murdered Sylvia 40 years earlier. He had been around 22 years old when he committed the crime. David had never expected that, 40 years later, the police would catch him and he would end up in prison. In 2022, David was sentenced to life in prison as all the evidence was against him. However, the exact motive behind his brutal attack on Sylvia remains unknown. The police believe that David went to Sylvia's home with the intention of assaulting her, and after doing so, he killed her. Although Sylvia finally got justice, her parents did not live to see it. Her younger sister, who was now married, was the only remaining family member to witness the outcome. After the court's verdict, the judge made two significant statements. If a crime has been committed, don't lose hope. The police and forensic experts will eventually bring you justice. And to those who think they have committed a crime and escaped, remember, the police will come for you. If you enjoy true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if you found this case intriguing, be sure to like the video.